Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are so pleased to have in the studio with us today Juli Christensen. She's a therapist at the Palomar Family Counseling Service. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How long have you been with the Palomar Family Counseling Service?
I've been there a couple of years.
A couple of years. Okay, very, very good. What's the mission?
Our mission is to reach out into the community and provide low-cost mental health care for individuals, families, couples. We also work within the school district to make sure mental health care is accessible.
So I'm so glad we're talking about this, and it's sort of a common theme on a lot of our spotlight shows. Mental health. I mean, I'll tell you this, you forgot more about mental health probably in the last 7 seconds than I'll know ever. But I do know that it's at levels that we've never seen before, at least in my lifetime, in this aspect of it. So critical, the services that you provide. Just talk about how mental health issues have just absolutely been accelerating at exponential pace. Yeah,
you're spot on with that. COVID really did a number. It did a number on our community and our healthcare, but it really, really did a number on mental health, especially amongst children. Being out of school, being out of their routine, that sort of stuff. And so the last couple of years, we've really seen an uptick in depression, anxiety, school-related issues. In addition to that, adults didn't do so well either. We have
100%.
We had an uptick in substance use, marital issues, relationship issues. Usually when there is like a trauma like that, and that's really what COVID was traumatic. Usually when there's a trauma like that, people survive. And then once the trauma's over, that's when it all kind of comes out. And that's what we've been seeing.
You know, one of these days, I hope in my lifetime, we're going to get to the point where no one's looking at mental health as a stigma. I keep on talking about this. It's in your world, and you hope that happens as well. And it shouldn't be a stigma. It should be someone has a cast in their arm because they broke it. That's not a stigma. And they broke their arm, and they're doing it. Mental health, listen, part of our body and all that aspect of it. Listen, some people have some challenges, and here's how we need to take care of it. Simple as that. Is it ever not going to be a stigma?
Yeah, honestly, we have been moving more towards it not being a stigma. And, there's kind of two parts when it comes to mental health. There's the biological side of it. And often I refer clients this it's like having diabetes. You're never ashamed of having diabetes. It's just a thing. Your body didn't produce what it needed. So you learn how to manage it. Right. That's a biological side to mental health. But then there's also the, what happens in the world, what happens in your life and that sort of stuff. And I mean, isn't there a song, We All Have Bad Days, something like that? So stuff happens to all of us. Right. And learning how to navigate it, those are skills. They should be taught in kindergarten, but they're not.
Well, they should be taught everywhere. And you're right, whether you're 4 years old or you're 104 years old. Listen, everybody has a propensity, to do this. How much of this is environmental? How much of this is genetic? How much of this is COVID came out of nowhere in this aspect of it? We all know trauma sometimes is in the eye of the beholder. For someone, this happens and you go, okay. And if for some person, the world falls apart on this. Mm-hmm. You must see it all from every aspect of the spectrum, do you not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I see. We call it either post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic growth. Right. And there's just two sides to it. And you can teach somebody, you can have twins in the family, same environment, same pretty much genetics, everything, and a catastrophe will happen. And for one, it propels them on to great things. And for another, it just sinks them. Right. And, they're still trying to figure out what exactly causes that. But what we're finding is there is a skill called perspective shifting. And if people can learn that at a young age and apply it, that's really what brings out more of that resiliency. It's, it's being able to switch from the glass is half empty to the glass is half full kind of a thing.
Is that a new concept?
Nope. That's been around for
people
years.
are walking upright, for that matter, in that aspect. How does that work? Perspective shifting.
So, something negative happens in your life.
Right.
I don't know. You ran out of gas on the way to
lost a dog or
work.
Something like
Yep. Okay. You lost a dog. You can dwell on the having lost the dog and the loss and the and the sadness that goes with it, which is very real.
Sure.
But that keeps you anchored in the past. If you can instead switch perspectives to the opportunities that you have, the enjoyment that you had with that individual, the life that you got to have with them, instead of focusing on the loss, you can focus on what you got, the gain from that, then that's a perspective shift. And that perspective shift actually puts you future oriented and the hopeful things. Okay, well, maybe we can have another dog like this. Maybe, they've gone off to a better place and now it's our turn to go off and, find a dog to love as much as we loved that one. So it's that shift from looking at the past to looking at the future. And it really can improve mental health in a way that we are able to kind of lift ourselves out.
Right, we're chatting with Juli Christensen. She's a therapist of the Palomar Family Counseling Service. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, broadcasting in the very cool Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed's been doing great things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. Let me ask you this. I'll use the dog as an example because we lost our dog in January, and then of course, foolishly, now a 5-month-old puppy that's going to be up every night. And then someone reminds me, you can't put diapers on puppies. Okay, that's right, very, very, very good. But that being said, I tend to be one of these folks that look forward and all that business. But for grieving, okay, talk about grieving. You've lost a dog, you've lost a relative, you've lost whatever the case may be. There's a grieving process, correct? And for everyone it's different, right? Some may be this amount of time, some may be this times 8 and all that business. How long should you let yourself grieve? And that really depends on the person, correct?
Yeah, it really does. It depends upon the person, it depends upon the situation, and it depends upon the impact of the loss. So some people, you lose something and it was maybe super meaningful, but it wasn't impacting your daily life. You lost a pet, or you lost a grandparent, or, something like that. But if you're like a child and you lost your parent, somebody that really impacts your daily life, that's going to be a much longer process of grieving.
Right. Are you seeing more types of this type of mental health issues now since the COVID, or they're all sort of across the board?
Yeah, since COVID, what I'm really seeing amongst the general population is an uptick in anxiety and depression. Okay. That's really what I'm seeing. Amongst couples and families, it's relationship dynamics. We all lived inside of each other's space for way too long. And now we're, trying to figure out how to be friends again without being on top of each other. And that takes some time.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because we found that with pets, hey, you were at work and I got to sleep all day. Now I'm on a walk every 5 seconds. What the heck's the matter with you? So that our dog was looking at us in that area of it. But listen, we all know anxiety is pretty much, off the charts, to say the least. I don't know if you can meet hardly anyone that doesn't have some aspect of anxiety, whether they want to admit it at all. What's the best way of dealing with that? Obviously, some has to be done with prescriptions, right? Some maybe let's talk about it. How does that work?
Yeah, anxiety is one of those tricky things because it impacts each of us differently.
Right.
And it has a very biological component to it. Our amygdala, our stress response, emergency response system kind of goes out of whack, and we're getting a false alarm when we don't need a false alarm. A technique that I use with a lot of my clients is when we start feeling anxious and thinking, and it's usually thinking based, something bad is happening.
Right.
think it all the way through to resolution. Most of us think it all the way through to like the mic drop. Oh, it's going to be so bad, and then I'm done. Okay, now after you're done, then what?
Right.
How do you pick yourself back up? How do you get yourself back through it? So, I don't want to walk down that alley. It could be dark. There could be, people lurking. Okay, well then picture yourself walking down that alley and getting to your car. And if somebody comes up, what do? You got the mace in your hands, or
right.
you're gonna yell, or you're just gonna ignore them, and you see yourself getting back in the car. You do that enough times, now you're not anxious to walk down the dark alley. You feel equipped. You're prepared. Maybe nothing will happen. Probably nothing will happen.
Right.
But the anxiety, now you control it instead of it controlling you.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Something that you're passionate about, you mentioned before, is that you get to offer low cost, mental health care.
Mm-hmm.
Because probably nothing worse, whether it's mental health care or it's physical care and all this, is, I can't afford to do X, and now all the situation gets worse, and so forth. So it is important to know that you can actually not break the bank by getting that support. Talk about that.
Yeah, so Palomar is a nonprofit, and we have that ability to offer low-cost mental health care to the community.
Right.
We have a sliding scale, so we can be adjusted per income basis. And really the goal behind that is to make it accessible and affordable for everybody. There should never be a reason that you have to suffer with a mental health issue and not be able to have care.
I love what you wrote on the questionnaire, that you really like to, especially work with same-sex couples, to navigate some of the challenges. In this, we don't do politics on my show, but every once in a while, I let the cat out of the bag in this aspect of it. And we can't talk about enough. We need to sit there and have a whole infusion of empathy in this world, for God's sake, big shot of it, whatever the case may be. And to me, it's just unconscionable that anyone would take swipes at whoever people want to do and knock yourself out, as long as you're not breaking the law, for God's sake. On this, talk about how you work with those couples.
Yeah, so I do a lot of relationship counseling, a lot of couples counseling. And often for the LGBTQ individuals and couples, they struggle to find therapists that are going to be knowledgeable and empathetic and, quote unquote, safe for them to, come to. And if you're coming to somebody with a relationship problem, there's two of you, and you're already struggling to get along with the person that, is supposed to have your back, you're going to go to a third person, and you really need to feel like that person's going to, be fighting for your relationship, not fighting against you.
Right. So when we come back from break, want to continue that conversation. What advice you have for folks if you think you're stressed out, you probably are stressed out, or whatever the case may be, right? And that how they get a hold of you. We always save time, Julie, in our show to what our listeners can do to support your efforts and your colleagues as well. When we return with Juli Christensen, she's a therapist for the Palomar Family Counseling Service. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, continuing to do great things for San Diego's population for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 17th year, broadcasting from Mission Fed Studios here in Scripps Ranch, chatting with Juli Christensen, therapist with the Palomar Family Counseling Service. So there are a lot of challenges these days, to say the least. How much does social media tie into this?
You know, social media is a double-edged sword. I have some teenagers that I see who have lots of anxiety and depression, and you can see it directly linked to their social media usage. The more they use it, the more isolated and depressed and anxious they feel. Yet on the other side, teens are social creatures, and if they're using social media to connect with friends, that can be a real benefit, because when they isolate, then they're not having that communication with their social network. So it really kind of becomes a double-edged sword as to what they're using and how they're using it.
Right. Now, you've been in this field for how long?
Years.
For a long time, right? So what have you seen that has changed in your field, and how you work with folks that have some mental health challenges? Have things shifted? Has there been a different philosophy in how you deal with this, or not really?
Well, when it comes to mental health, there's many different approaches.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm more of a short-term care kind of therapist. That's just my niche. I spent like 15 years working international adoptions and orphan care out of West Africa. And that's a lot of like trauma care that's, a couple weeks long. So that's the approach that I usually take. I'm skills-based. So my goal is for clients to come in and me to be able to teach them the skills that they need so that they don't need me anymore.
Right.
Not to keep them on my couch.
Right, exactly. Are there certain skills? I mean, again, it depends on the individual situation and the person and how they deal with it. Are there some just to come to mind in general? I love your aspect of it. Okay, you've got this issue. All right, we're done. Are you going any further with this? You think you fell off a cliff? What other types of skills that you think are so important?
Yeah, so I use an integrated approach, but I use a lot of CBT, which is called cognitive behavior therapy.
Okay.
And the goal is to teach you how to control your thoughts, which control your feelings, which then control your behaviors.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of mindfulness. That's learning how to get some physical control over the automatic responses that we have. The heart palpitations, the sweaty hands, the flushed face, how to do some breathing and relaxation techniques to kind of get some control over that, some grounding stuff.
Right.
And I'm very science-based. So I love how our brain works, and I love being able to explain that to my clients to say, this 5-finger breathing technique might feel like something you teach a kindergartner, but let me tell you why it works in your brain.
And that's really interesting. So access to mental health services is a challenge, correct? Mm-hmm. Is that because the way our insurance companies are set up, and basically you got to hit this bar before you get this? How does that work?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with the insurance companies in that they either won't compensate for very much, or there's just not a lot of providers out there who will accept that kind of insurance. At Palomar, we accept insurance but the therapists that are able to take that insurance, there aren't very many of them, which is why we offer an out-of-pocket solution for those who don't either have insurance or they can't wait for the waiting list.
Sure. Julie, do you work mainly with families or individuals, or a little bit of both? How's that work?
Yeah, I mainly work with individuals and couples.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I do relationship stuff too. I have a number of parents and children that I work with. I also do a lot of parenting stuff. I have 13 kids myself, which is a lot. 8 of them are internationally adopted. So
You have 13 kids?
I have 13 kids.
13.
Yeah.
Are they all living with you?
Most of them are adults. I only have 5 left at home. Only I know. 4 in high school and 1 is a middle schooler.
Bless your heart, and my goodness, we need to delve into this here. So what got you into all these adoptions? Did you start this in West Africa?
Yeah. So years and years ago, we started the process of adopting a little girl out of West Africa, and the country and the program kind of fell apart. And one thing led to another, and I ended up moving there with the kids that we had to complete the adoption. And in order to do so, I had to learn the language, I had to learn the government, I had to meet people and stuff. And so that gave me a unique opportunity to help other families, work with the NGOs in the country. And so I did that for years. I took a little bit of a break and came back after Ebola and worked a lot to help the kids who had been orphaned from that.
So you got 5 at home. Okay, what are the ages?
I've got 17, 16, 2, 15, and a 13.
And those are all adopted, correct?
The 13 is my last bio.
Okay, very good. I was adopted at birth, by the way, at next off the assembly line, and I'm the luckiest human being in the world because of the family that I have.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, and my brother also was adopted at birth, and no one's luckier than me. Simple as that. And so, listen, I think that's quite a commitment, to say the least, in this. And your husband, your partner, whatever. Obviously was all in on this?
Yeah. Actually, my husband and I, we've been together since high school. We just celebrated 30 years together. What was that, Tuesday?
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. And so, and is he in this space too? Does he do counseling?
No, he runs a tech company. So.
Okay, gotcha. Right. Listen, certainly you got some expertise in this, to say the least. Obviously, with the 13 kids in this area, what advice do you have? Just in general, because you're always talking about people that are getting stressed in this aspect of it. One, seek help if you can. One, that's don't let this thing fester, and so forth. But there's some simple things that, hey, take your time, take a breath, think these things out. It could be X. You may think your stress is coming from here, but to be honest with you, it's coming from here. Are there some simple advice, rules, or not really?
Yeah, honestly, it's self-awareness, and there's studies out there that say 90% of people believe that they are self-aware, but when given a diagnostic, only about 10% of us are.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. But being able to look at yourself and say, okay, wait a second, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And kind of go back and look at that sort of stuff. And the real key is you suspend judgment. You got to be kind with yourself. You got to just be like, meh, it is what it is. So let's go figure it out, instead of being down on yourself.
How long did it take you to get to that point? I mean, were you always like this as a young girl growing up? Or, no, it happened 30 years ago when I met my, significant other, and I really got it then.
Honestly, I think I got here a couple of years ago, 10, 15 years ago, but it's always been a process. It's, it's all a process. And people will say, well, I don't know who I am. Well, I don't either. I know who I am today. I don't know who I'm going to be tomorrow, but I know who I am today.
It's funny you say that, and everybody looks at you differently on whatever your response is. I feel pretty good about myself. I mean, I know my shortcomings and all that business. That's because you're arrogant and you don't know any better. Okay, fine. That's your answer. Beautiful. I'll go with that. I was always raised, and a lot of it is how you were raised. If you were raised in an environment you love, and I did, it's my dad was a medical doctor, my mom an artist, and we don't care if you didn't flip burgers. It didn't make a difference. That's how you tend to raise your kids too, as well, in that aspect of it. So I've been very fortunate in that area. I think my brother's probably the same way in this, but we know that's not necessarily the rule in this aspect of it. And I know where my expertise ends, which is very short, and somebody else's begins, and all that business. But I think listen, that's great advice. That you can have for anyone. What can our listeners do to support your efforts?
You can spread the word. Mental health is a big issue. I'm sure we all know someone. Maybe the someone is someone that stares us back in the mirror that need to reach out and call someone.
Right, exactly. No, you're right in this. Or seek advice, talk to the people that you trust. I mean, and talk about how important that is. You got about a minute or so to go. Obviously, people trust you. You wouldn't be in this field if they didn't trust you. So you give off a vibe of trust in this aspect. That's not easy.
I personally believe you got to be open with them. I feel like I have to earn the right to understand and be told the secret things in people's lives. And that's not something I take lightly. So I share what, is relevant in my life, and I am open for whatever anybody wants to tell me.
Right. So in your world there, if somebody is feeling stressed or feeling, significant, I need some help, do they call a number? How do they get hold of you?
Yeah. I mean, you can look us up online, Palomar Family Counseling Service. We have offices in Fallbrook and Vista and Escondido.
Okay.
We also offer online telehealth options. We really try and make it accessible and available for what the client is needing. And you just give us a call and reach out.
Right. They get a hold of you if they live in Chula Vista at all? Or
absolutely.
So countywide, right?
Statewide.
Oh,
we can
good.
see anybody in the state of California.
Yeah.
And just give a call and tell them what you're looking for.
That's very good. Any final comments, Julie?
Just appreciate you taking the time to spotlight this super important issue and hopefully provide some support for the people who are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to having you back on and chatting about some other cool things in your world. We've been talking to Juli Christensen, therapist with the Palomar Family Counseling Service. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year. We hope you enjoy the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.